Everyone, welcome to Fort De Vaux of Verdun. Yeah, that's right. We're doing the World War I Battle of Verdun, one of the most infamous battles of the entire war. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers slaughtered for both sides at the heart of the War of Attrition in 1916. In fact, really the first battle that spearheaded the War of Attrition due to Falkenhayn's strategy. It is a behemoth of a battle that we have here today, and it is taking place immediately at the fort that Verdun was fought over. De Vaux over here. So we've got the French garrison set up all around the fort. Clearly, it has suffered from the constant artillery barrage that the Germans have been laying into the fort. As you can see, a lot of the structure is crumbling and it is not holding up its integrity in the slightest. There are also trench lines in front of the fortress as well as behind the fortress. So the French have areas that they can sort of retreat back to if need be, but the Germans are bringing a whole lot of artillery. As you can see, they have like 10 artillery cannons here. Of course, the artillery is static. They're not going to be able to push forward after the initial stages of the battle, so really their range is just the immediate fortress, I would say. And then they're going to be laying it on thick with hundreds of German soldiers charging on forward here. It should be really, really epic. I am so excited to watch this battle unfold here, fellas. Be sure to hit the like button if you want to see more historical battles, and what battles do you want to see? Leave your comments down below because I'd be happy to do some fan suggestions. Subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to like the video. All right, guys, without further ado, let's get into it. Alrighty then, you bad Larrys. The battle is about to begin, and we're gonna go in slow-mo for the first part, and we're pressing start. I want to see what these cannons atop the fortress end up doing. The battle is well underway. Below here, we can see the small arms fire pouring out. No artillery shells have really landed quite yet from either side. They're still sort of calibrating and reorganizing here. So essentially, the Battle of Verdun was planned out by Falkenhayn as a new strategy for the German army after the mobile war basically completely failed for them and also the Allies. It was basically to try and combat the static warfare that had just occurred. Oh, that cannon's crew! No! Fellas! All these poor lads! Oh no, that was brutal. Oh, these guys got kicked off too. Oh, the French cannons are getting decimated right now by the German artillery. That is brutal. So either way, Falkenhayn's sort of strategy here was to absolutely annihilate one small area of the trench lines on the Western Front with artillery, completely bombard it, break as many machine gun emplacements as possible, kill as many soldiers as possible, destroy their trenches with this artillery, and just annihilate them. And then, once that was accomplished, charge in with as many men as possible and take the fortifications. Now, his plan did not go well in the slightest. The French soldiers, as well as some of the British soldiers stationed there, but it was mainly French, I believe, they just tucked their cannons inside the fortress and their machine guns too, and then brought them back out when all was said and done with the artillery fire, and then mowed down the Germans that assaulted. Huge battle of attrition, both sides losing hundreds of thousands of troopers in a matter of days, essentially. Absolutely insane losses for both sides, and an absolutely insane battle historically. It was a tough position. Now, you might be wondering, why Verdun? Why attack this random fortress? Well, historically, this fortress in France has been attacked many times in history, and it is just sort of a symbol of the French Republic. Sorry, my dog is barking in the background. It's very symbolic for the French, and so Falkenhayn believed that the French would sort of divert all of their resources there to try and defend it, and they could squash them all very early into the assault, and the British wouldn't be able to reinforce, and the French army would essentially be knocked out and capitulate. this didn't work. The French did refortify the fortress, but they were able to hold pretty nicely. I believe at one point during the battle, and correct me if I'm wrong here, the fortress was under German rule, but it was essentially completely destroyed, and I think the French took it back eventually. I could be wrong in that statement, but I think I remember learning that at one point. Either way, let's go into normal speed here. This battle, of course, was the first battle that introduced Flammenwerfen, flamethrowers by the Germans. They were the first military to utilize them. We've got a few of them on the battlefield. You might see them running around. It's just a question of if they actually managed to get close enough to the enemy trenches to utilize them. I don't know. It's very difficult to get very far forward in this absolute slaughter. You know, getting close to the actual enemies is difficult for sure. On top of that, this was the first battle. Well, no, not really. But this was a battle that really solidified the thought process that fortifications, like fortresses and castles and things like that, were completely outdated at this point. The castle didn't, or the fort, it's not really a castle. It did not hold well in the slightest for the French, and it was completely overturned by artillery power and things like that. So it really made it clear to defenders that trench warfare was the way to go, and fortresses of wars past were just not going to cut it really anymore. And I think this battle was one of the major ones that sort of demonstrated that. Also on the Russian front, there was a lot of fortification battles, so I think that exemplified this new type of warfare as well. But Verdun is a prime example of forts just not being able to hold out against constant artillery bombardment, as well as you know, just new technologies, machine guns, things like that. It was real tough out there. Either way, in our recreation of the Battle of Verdun, the Germans are doing pretty well here. I mean, they're charging on forward. A lot of their artillery has gone down, but a lot of it is still pouring some fire into the French positions here. Look at these French artillerymen. What is this? What is this? Okay. Well, that cannon is now sideways with one trooper on it. That's weird. That's a weird one right there. This ain't it, Chief. This ain't it. The Germans are actually entering into the fortifications now of the French. They've got two artillery pieces left alive. Actually, I think this one was decrewed, and then the troopers remanned it. So these artillery pieces could potentially do a little bit. They might not have the arc to hit the infantry anymore, but they can at least combat the German artillery below a little bit too, and try and kill them before the German infantry actually ends up killing these artillery pieces. Oh, that artillery is definitely done now. That thing's not coming back in the slightest. German infantry crawling on in here. The French are still managing to defend a little bit. Oh my god, there's just guts flying everywhere. This is a bit of a choke point right here with trench riflemen, as well as pistol troopers being able to fire out. Pistols are very effective in this because they can just round off shots, unlike rifles at this point. However, the range of them is just absolute crud, and they've also got really bad accuracy. Okay, this French cannon is just pouring artillery fire directly into these German troopers. Whoa! Oh my god, German artillery! Kill that thing! Oh my god, all this artillery is dead. I don't think the German artillery could help. It's up to the German infantrymen right now, and they are not succeeding in the slightest. Oh, rip potato chip, boys. This is sad. How's the left flank doing? The left flank's doing a little bit better for the Germans. They're cruising into the fortifications here. If the Germans do lose, you know, before they really get into the heart of the fortifications, we might go ahead and give them a second wind here and give them some reinforcements, because I really want to see the interior battle as well as the exterior battle. Not to mention, it would be fitting to this battle because both sides just constantly threw more men into this tiny radius of battle. So it would be pretty fitting if we're being completely honest. Here's a flame trooper. Dude, use your flame. Come on. What the heck? Wait, I'm gonna use it for him because I want to see this thing in action. Bro, the first flamethrower in the war. Yes, roast him and toast him, baby. I don't think it's even managing to hit any of those fellas. Apparently the German flamethrowers just don't want to actually use their flamethrowers. It is licking this thing, but it didn't get the kill on either of the infantrymen behind it. It's pretty ineffective flamethrower, if we're being completely honest here. And the French infantry is still managing to just absolutely toast anyone with their guns. Oh, that's brutal right there. This fortress is holding out, oh, really nicely. Oh, it's tough to see. It's tough to see. Okay, I'm going to pause it, and I'm going to give the Germans a little bit more reinforcements because I would like to see the rest of the battlefield in action here. Okay, guys, the Germans now do have a few hundred more soldiers here in the back lines, and they're going to slowly start coming up as they realize they need to charge. Come on, guys. Come on. You don't want to... Come on. Charge it on forward. They also still do have a few artillery pieces, by the way. You know, those weren't completely knocked out by the French. There we go. Now they're starting to come forward. Good, good, good. Okay, so German reinforcements are on the way. Oh, yeah. The artillery's still going. Oh, they finally took out that artillery piece. There you go, German artillery. Way to finally take that out. It only took the entire battle. It's a very good thing the Germans have reinforcements coming up because they have literally no troopers up here. The French managed to wipe out the first wave of Germans entirely. Now you have to remember during these battles, there was really no true victor. Both sides took tremendous losses and almost no territory was gained. You know, it's hard to tell if there was a victor. I mean, I guess the French did manage to hold out and stop the Germans from taking over France through the Battle of Verdun and, you know, eliminating France from the war. However, the French took tremendous losses during this, and, you know, it was just trench warfare. It's a war of attrition. There's no real victor in these stages of the war. Maybe as we get into the later war, when the war becomes mobile again, we will see some more victories. I also think doing, like, battles of Tannenberg and Ypres and things like that, those could be really, really fun as well, and those have a little bit more set victors in the war, so, you know, those could be kind of interesting to look at as well. Oh, there are some Germans who have pushed way, way far up here, but they're getting actually grenaded by the French soldiers that are up here. Interesting. Even with the reinforcements for the Germans, I'm not entirely sure if they'll I can't talk today. If they'll make it through the fortress. It's a tough defense to crack here. And the French soldiers, they just have to sit there and fire, man. I mean, they're getting kill after kill after kill. How many kills do these guys have? Well, that guy died. This guy's got none, this guy's got none, this guy's got 6. Okay, well, these two have been completely ineffective, but this fella's gotten some. I think these troopers over here did end up having, like, probably 10 kills apiece, which is really good. But they're, of course, dead now. Okay, so the Germans are making it through the early stages of the fortress pretty well now. But there are still plenty of French troopers back here. I also gave the French some colonial troopers. There was mass recruitment of colonial troopers on all nations, mainly the British and the French, though. They were the ones who had more colonial expeditionary forces than, like, the Germans. But yeah, all sides, you know, called upon their colonial forces in order to help fight the war. Really, it's what made it a world war. And actually, surprisingly, a lot of colonial forces willingly fought. They believed, and Gandhi was actually someone who wrote about this for the Indian forces that fought, but they believed that fighting in this war would prove themselves to these European nations and allow themselves to be liberated. And I believe Gandhi said something along the lines of, if, you know, we want to be free, we need to fight alongside the British in order to liberate ourselves in the homeland. So a lot of people did that in these colonial areas. They enlisted because they believed it would help them better their position in the world and free themselves from colonial oppressors. So it's kind of interesting because I was always under the impression that they were sort of like forced into service, but there was a lot of recruitment that went on, and people willingly went and fought. Actually, a really fascinating read is reading about the Maori forces that fought under the British. They were, like, well-renowned warriors in World War I, because they were so unbelievably fierce and fought together to the death and things like that. They were truly phenomenal forces to be reckoned with. So it's kind of cool to read about the Maori who fought in the war. If you haven't checked them out, I would seriously suggest a Google. Okay, so we got the French inside the fortress, actually doing a nice holdout of the German advance here, but the Germans are just like flooding in at this point. Lots of grenades going out to try and stall them, and it's working too. Tons of Germans getting blown to smithereens, but the French positions are not invincible from grenades either, because many of the French deaths have been due to German grenades that are coming in as well. So it's a little bit tough here for both sides in that regard. This is some very close quarters combat right now. The Germans are taking the high ground up there where the French artillery was once positioned, and now the French soldiers are having to fire upwards. Though the Germans up there are exposing themselves really well, so the French can take them out pretty nicely. So, you know, the French will definitely lose this fortification, I think, but the amount of losses that the Germans are taking, it's not going to make it worth it in the slightest, I think, for them to take it overall. There's also French soldiers still on the flanks over here, and then... Are there any over here still? Yeah, there's still some over here too. So the Germans haven't even successfully, you know, taken over the flanks here. So they're still susceptible to sweeping flanks, which is crazy. God, I cannot talk today. I don't know what's up with me. Maybe I'm not being enough of a hydro homie. Let me take a sip of water. Instantly, I feel refreshed. Water is truly the greatest drink of all time. Okay, the Germans now making excellent progress through the fortress here, taking out the French one by one. Yeah, the French have probably lost the fortress by now. Maybe a couple soldiers are still holding out. Actually, there's still a bunch in this back alleyway over here for holding out. But overall, yes, the French have lost Fort De Vaux now to the German forces. However, they've got a ton of troopers still way back here in... trench lines further back that are managing to fire away at the Germans who are now in the fortress. So that's interesting. The defense is still going even further back here, which is pretty crazy. The Germans are still going to have to pile drive their way through a ton of French infantrymen in order to seize the day. And they technically still haven't taken the fortress, actually, because there's still a few French troopers in here, but it's only a matter of time. You know, these guys won't stop the German attack, really. This is absolutely brutal. He's tough out here. And if we were... What are you looking at with those binoculars? Are you just staring into the void? Oh, no. He caught me looking at him staring into the void. So now he's like, oh, yeah, of course, the fort. Yeah. I'm watching that. What a dummy. You can't fool me, bro. Is this the World War I Clyde? Is this Clyde of World War I? Oh, great. Now he's got a gun. I don't think we should trust this man with a gun. Oh, God. World War I Clyde is a terrifying thought. French soldiers still holding out the flanks of the fortress, though. The German Huns are charging, though. I think it's only a matter of time before the flanks do collapse as well. And remember, you know, this is not a completely accurate, you know, recreation of the battle. Obviously, I mean, there's a lot incorrect about this, and we're just doing it in a video game. I tried my best to be as historically accurate as possible. However, at the end of the day, this is for entertainment and all that stuff. So, you know, in real life, imagine the fighting for the fort taking place over multiple days, over multiple slaughters, things like that. Not just like a German yeet forward, you know? Additionally, I think the fortress... Okay, again, I think the fortress does end up collapsing for the French. However, I do believe they retake it. That is my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, you know, the French really never lose at Verdun, and I would say the Germans never truly lose at Verdun either, because, you know, both sides never really made any gains, and neither side, you know, had that many less losses than the other side. Both sides suffered horrifically at this battlefield. Look at this German gunner over here, crawling his way through no man's land, and he does eventually get noticed by the French soldiers there. God dang, dude. God dang. So what I'm trying to say is, if the German forces in this recreation do end up seizing the entirety of the battlefield, just remember that in real life, this is not what occurred here. They are making their way into sort of like the second no man's land behind the fortress now, and they are swarming like bees, man. the French have a serious task ahead of them to try and eliminate as many of these fellas as possible. And I don't think they're up to the task, to be honest. They're out of machine guns and they are out of artillery pieces. It's really just, you know, smaller, lighter machine guns as well as riflemen and pistols and some snipers who are defending the French trench lines. I think they will get a lot of German kills, but I think the Germans will end up winning the day. However, we got to remember that the Germans, we gave them reinforcements during this whole thing. The French got no reinforcements, and they completely annihilated the first wave of Germans and the majority of their artillery. And the second wave has taken a serious beating by the French defenses here. So, you know, a Pyrrhic victory nonetheless for our little battle recreation here for the Germans. And it's not even over yet. I mean, I suppose the French could technically end up still wiping out the remainder of the Germans, though I think it's highly unlikely. I think there's too many Germans left alive at this point for it to happen. So it's tough out here. It's tough out here. Yeah, German forces still charging downhill here. It looks so dope, though. I mean, this mod is beautiful. B-E-A, beautiful. The uniforms look so crisp. It's gorgeous. It's basically Rob's realism mod, but World War I. I can't wait to do more World War I battles, to be honest, guys. I think we will do more historical battle recreations. I mean, we did the Battle of Marathon the other day, and of course we did the Battle of the Somme, which was very titillating. It was very fun. It's really gotten me back into sort of historical battles and non-Star Wars battles. And of course, these will be uploaded alongside or sandwiched between Star Wars battle uploads, so the main channel idea will still remain the same. I always feel like I need to add that little tidbit in there about Star Wars, because if I don't, then people are like, hey, come on, where's the Star Wars when I upload these videos? So, you know, just a reminder, these are just fun little side projects for me because I enjoy them. And it seems like there's an audience out there for it too. It might not be as big as my normal Star Wars video audience, but it's certainly there. And, you know, history lovers unite, boys. History lovers unite. So the Germans have taken the right flank for the most part from the French. Many French now turning to the right to try and combat the oncoming Germans over here, but it's only a matter of time, boys. It's only a matter of time before these krauts, these sauerkrauts, end up making it through. Does kraut, like the German, the slang word for Germans, does that come from sauerkraut? That's my question for you guys. Please let me know. I'm very curious. Very, very curious. The Frenchies, they are failing. Oh, white flag. The flag of the French. I kid. You know, if you want a meme about the French being, you know, surrenderers in war and stuff like that, you have to at very least acknowledge the fact that they are absolute beasts in almost every single war before World War II. Like, the French were serious fighting forces, and for most of the time they had the strongest army in all of Europe. So you got to remember that side of French history, but it is very funny to meme on the French for being bad and surrendering a lot, because r/history memes just tears into the French, and some of those memes are very spicy, but yeah, do remember that the French are a fearsome fighting force in many, many wars. So we got two French lads back here left alive, and they're slowly getting overtaken by the Germans, who are marching on forward. Let's see if this guy can get another kill. Oh, he's trying to heal real quick. The Germans are peppering in front of him, and they do manage to get the dome shot and kill him. The Germans have won the day here. A very Pyrrhic victory, though. Let's check out the losses. So, well, let's do it this way. Okay, so yellow are dead French troopers, and red are dead Germans. And up until the very end, the Germans were taking horrific losses. I mean, look at the fortress up here. Oh, my God. So many Germans died up here, and so many French died as well. I mean, both sides during this battle suffered horrifically. And remember, a lot of bodies were blown up by the artillery too, so we're not seeing even those here. So it's probably even more numbers died during our little battle here. But really, really cool battle. Of course, no one really won in the real war. I mean, It's just so tragic for both sides that any victory would have been a Pyrrhic victory. I guess you could argue, the French won, but a Pyrrhic victory nonetheless. Either way, Falkenhayn's great charge forward has failed, and he will soon be overtaken by Hindenburg and Ludendorff as the supreme commander of Germany. Yeah, pretty fun. Pretty fun battle. Either way, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. Comment down below what battles you want me to cover next. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Be sure to click that subscribe button for more content. And hit the notification bell if you'd like to be alerted to whenever I live stream or upload. Thanks so much.